So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and I welcome you all in this live session by Drishti IAS. So as usual in this live session, you know that we will be discussing Indian Express and we'll start with the front page and go into much deeper articles which are important for our examination point of view. Other than that, since it was weekend, we will be covering the news from Saturday, Sunday as well. So we'll be taking few articles which are important for you from the weekend, and then we'll move toward with the today's newspaper. There was not much from the today's newspaper, and so let's start with the practice question which was given to you in the last class. We'll start with that and then we'll discuss these three articles. That is Bharat Ratna for L.K. Advani. Lal Krishna Advani will be getting Bharat Ratna. So recently we have seen that on the occasion of Republic Day we have seen another Bharat Ratna awardee, that is Mr. Karpuri Thakur. He was former Chief Minister of Bihar. Other than that, he has various contributions when we are talking about social justice and reservation. And now the second awardee would be Mr. Lal Krishna Advani. He has given significant amount of his life towards Indian politics. So we'll talk about that and then we'll move forward with another article that is related to 25 crore Indians out of poverty. So multidimensional poverty index, which is published by UNDP along with the Oxford studies. So basically they are saying that nearly 25 crore people were actually pulled out of the poverty, multidimensional poverty in India in the last decade. Okay. So we'll talk about that article, how multidimensional poverty can be important, and then Pirates of the Arabian. So you must have heard that there is this movie called Pirates of the Caribbean. But the thing is, in real life, we don't have such pirates like Jack Sparrow or something. These pirates are actually some people from the lower strata which are not having any kind of employment, and they are under severe poverty. So that is why they are desperate to go for such measures. So we'll be talking about this issue of piracy in the Arabian Sea region or otherwise also. But when we are talking about this off Somali coast and then Gulf of Aden, etc., these are most prone to you can say prone to piracy. And then when we are talking about this region of Malacca state, etc., these are choke points, so they are also under piracy attacks time to time. So we'll be talking about the issue related to piracy, what are the reason behind it. Okay, we are not going to go into details of the recent piracy incidents which has happened, because we have discussed all those incidents in the newspaper itself. So we will not go into much details of that, but we will talk about the piracy as a whole, what are the reason behind it, why it is in the news right now. Then international affairs, will be talking about few issues over there, and then some facts from the newspaper. So there are some articles, per se that articles are not important, but there is some kind of fact which is given inside the article that is important. So we will discuss those facts as well. Okay, so this is today's Indian Express. Anil Ambani to Neera Radia, Gautam Sanghania, all these people are actually now under ED's scrutiny, because there was this Pandora probe. Okay, we will be talking about that Pandora probe, but actually we will be this issue we have already discussed about the ED. Okay, from this issue what is important is that there is some function of ED which we have already discussed. Okay, so that is one thing. Other than that, we will talk about this Pandora incident. So that other than that, we will be discussing all the news we have seen. Okay, so let's start with the previous question which was given to you. Consider the following statement. One was increase in the domestic private consumption. Second, third, fourth, five. These are 5 statements which are given. And now, how many of the above given situations will be helpful in reviving a faltering economy? If an economy is going on a downward trend, or if there is some problem in the economy, and if you want to revive the economy, which of the following condition will be helpful? Okay, so let's see these conditions one by one. Increase in the domestic private consumption. Okay, so that is one thing. So obviously, if there is an increase in the consumption, the producer will have an incentive. Okay, producers will have incentive, because since consumption is more, demand is more, and when demand is more, producer will go for the production. Okay, so that is one, you can say that if there is a private consumption, increase in the private consumption, that act as an incentive for producers to go for more production. Okay, so if we are going for the more production, that will increase the GDP in turn. Okay, because GDP is nothing but gross domestic product. Okay, so basically once production is increasing, that will amount to GDP increase, that is economy is going in a positive direction. Okay, so we can say that yes, this would be helpful. Other than that, geopolitical shocks due to war. So we have discussed many times in our newspaper discussions that because of the Israel-Hamas war, because of the chaos in the Red Sea, we are facing economical bottlenecks, or there is some gap in the supply because these sea routes are getting impacted out of it. Okay. Other than that, if there is a war in a certain region, that inherently will create some issues in the economy of that particular area. Okay, so we can say that if there is a war, that means that economy will go in the downward trend, not in the positive trend. So that will be rejected here. Then monetary tightening of US Federal Reserve. Okay, so when we are talking about US Federal Reserve, what they are saying that if there is a monetary tightening in USA, okay, USA is not giving any kind of money. So ultimately you can say that any kind of foreign direct investment or any kind of trade which is supported by this particular reserve, that will be hampered. Okay, so ultimately once there is no FDI in the Indian economy or any per se any economy, so ultimately that economy will lack FDIs, that economy will lack investment. So we can say that that is also not showing any kind of positive trend, so we can reject that as well. Hawkish monetary policy by RBI. Now RBI will have a hawkish monetary policy, that means that interest rates will be higher. Okay, when interest rate would be higher, credit will be costly, and there are less avenue for the credit. Considering that, there will be a lack of investment in the sectors. Okay, because there is no credit, there is no capital, and then these people might not be able to invest in the economy. Okay, so that is also not a positive trend, so we can reject that as well. Sluggish global demand. So same thing here is, when demand is more, that means that people are trying to spend, that is consumption is there. Okay, when there is a sluggish global demand, the demand in the global economy is lower, which means that ultimately your production will get hampered. Okay, so that can also be rejected. So we can say that only one is the statement which is giving some kind of helpful insight when we are talking about increasing the economy, increasing the growth. Okay, so option A would be a right answer, A only. Okay, so I think that is clear. Now we can move forward with the first article of the day. Okay, so days after award conferred on ex-Bihar CM Mr. Karpuri Thakur, now Bharat Ratna for LK Advani. BJP's poll message is clear: social justice and Hindutva. When we are talking about social justice, that has been given to Karpuri Thakur, and then when we are talking about LK Advani, we know that he has a significant amount of time he spent on Somnath Rath Yatra, etc., and then he has actually he was the person who has changed the, you can say, discourse of the BJP at that particular point of time. So let's see. It was 1989. Bharatiya Janata Party under LK Advani took a decisive ideological stance, giving up Gandhian socialism as a motto that Atal Bihari Vajpayee had been promoting. The party supported the Ram Janmabhoomi movement of the RSS and Vishwa Hindu Parishad through the Palampur Resolution of 1989. So this is politics, and we try to serve our interest. So that there was a shift in the policy from Atal Bihari Vajpayee to Lal Krishna Advani when he has taken this you can say issue of Ram Janmabhoomi. Okay, so that was the Palampur resolution was of 1989 was the turning point when we are talking about the ideological change. Okay, so called for the site to be handed over to Hindus. Okay, Rath Yatra from Somnath to Ayodhya from September 25th 1990 to January 22. So basically now January 22 2024 was the, you can say, result of that particular yatra which started at that particular point in 1989. Okay, so that is the time of inauguration of Ram Janmabhoomi or Ram Mandir temple. Okay, so now the thing is, now we are getting this Bharat Ratna to Mr. LK Advani for his political contribution to India. Okay, now coming to specifics about Bharat Ratna. Bharat Ratna is highest civilian award of the country. Okay, awarded in recognition of exceptional service performance of the highest order in any field of human endeavor. So here in any field this award can be given. Now it is treated on the difference footing from the Padma awards. We have also discussed the Padma awards. Okay, recently on 26th of January these Padma awards were also announced. Okay, there were some 5 awards we have discussed in our discussion as well. Okay, recommendations of the Bharat Ratna are given by the Prime Minister to the President, and President will be the person who will award this, give this award. And in a year, the amount or the number of the award are restricted to 3 only. Okay, so when we are talking about 2024, first award was given to Karpuri Thakur, and second award will be given to LK Advani, and third is not yet announced. Okay, So that is about Bharat Ratna. These are some facts which you can remember from your exam point of view. Okay. Now moving further, we have this multi-dimensional poverty. There are some meaning and the numbers, so we will be restricting ourselves to meaning right now. Okay. So according to this particular index, or you can say MPI, it is said that nearly 25 crore people have been raised from the poverty since 2013-14 till now. Okay. So how these numbers are arrived? So we have this National Family Health Survey, on the basis of which we will be taking these numbers. So now this becomes important, one thing. Other than that, when we are talking about how MPI is calculated, or what is MPI, so earlier what used to be the parameter to define poverty was the income, okay, or you can say expenditure. The amount of expenditure a person is going through or person is spending, that would be defining line whether he is poor or not, or amount of income he is earning, that would be the decisive point whether he is poor or not. If he is earning lower than a certain numbers, then he will be considered as poor, and if he is spending lower than particular amount, then he was considered to be poor. So these were the earlier you can say traditional criteria to define the poverty. Okay. But then when we are talking about numbers, that is only about quantity and not the quality. Okay. There are chances that if a person might be earning let's say good amount of money, but he is spending those on leisure activities and not on the development, or let's say he is spending on drinking and not on the education of his children. Now that is problematic, because when we are talking about this income related parameters, we are not getting the real picture out of it. Okay. So that is why we need to have a multi-dimensional parameters, or you can say various indicators. So multi-dimensional poverty index is the index wherein there are some 10 indicators from 3 different areas, that is education, health and standard of living. Okay. When we are talking about who is the person who is publishing this particular report, or who is the institution, so that is United Nations Development Program, that is UNDP, and Oxford Policy and Human Development Initiative, that is OPHI. OPHI and UNDP are 2 institutes together, they give this particular report. In examination, if they give one of them also, and since we have to choose the most appropriate answer, so you can go for that thing. Okay. Most of the time they will be asking about UNDP. Okay. But you should remember this as well. So now this is the thing, when we are talking about multi-dimensional poverty index, so there are various you can say indicators. Here you can say MPI has mostly 10 indicators. Okay. And when we are talking about these 10 indicators, they are divided into 3 different areas, that is education, health and living standard, or standard of living, you can say. Okay. So when we are talking about MPI, we are having 10 indicators, but then we have our own feature of you can say MPI India. We have our own version of MPI, that is MPI India, which is basically you can say directed by Niti Aayog. Okay. So and Niti Aayog has added 2 more indicators. So when we are talking about MPI India, we have 12 indicators. Okay. Going into details of these indicators is not necessary, but the thing is, when we are talking about it, when we talk about education, so these are year of education or the enrollment ratio, these are factors which is to be considered. When we are talking about health, so mostly we will be considered mortality rate, adolescent and children mortality, etc. When we are talking about India, India has one more indicator that is related to mother's health as well. Okay. So that is one thing. Other than when we are talking about living standards, so we will be considering type of housing they are living in. Okay, the household assets they will be talking about. Other than that, they will be talking about drinking water, sanitation. All these things would be used as indicator in this when we are talking about standard of living. When we are talking about India, India also has one thing that is related to bank accounts. Okay, how many of the people are having bank accounts, or you can say financial inclusivity. Okay. So that can also be considered that India has 2 more indicators, that is related to the health of mother as well as the bank accounts. That health related parameters are under health indicators, and then bank account is under the standard of living indicators. Okay. So now we can come back to our discussion. So here it is said that it is declined from 29.17%, 29.17% in 2013-14 to nearly, you can say, 11% or something. Okay, so they are saying that 11.28%, 11.28% to be precise. Okay, by 2022-23. Okay, so this data can be important, that MPI is saying that India has only 11.8% of multidimensional poverty. Okay, so that is important. This particular paragraph is important for you. And when we are talking about the performances, so you can say that Uttar Pradesh has topped the performance, and they have pulled out nearly 5.94 crore people, or nearly 6 crore people out of the poverty. And then Bihar has pulled out nearly 3.77 crore, or you can say nearly 4 crore people from the poverty. And then Madhya Pradesh. Now, you can say the reason behind these states pulling out maximum number of people is because they have the maximum population of poor over there. Okay, so considering that, they have done well and pulled out this much amount of people from the poverty. Okay, what is the multidimensional poverty index, which we have seen? Traditionally, it was calculated through incomes and the expenditure levels. Okay, we had this poverty lines, that is BPL, etc. You must have heard of. Okay, so that was there. And now multidimensional poverty index uses 10 indicators, which we have seen under the area of health, education and standard of living, and 1/3 weightage of each is taken. Obviously, there are 3 areas, they will be taking 1/3 weightage. And then when we are talking about all these indicators, how they decide how many people will be poor. If any person out of 10 indicators, if any person is having a lack of access to 3 or more indicators, in that case we will say that he is multidimensionally poor. Okay, out of 10 indicators, if a person is not able to access to 3 or more indicators, that means that he is multidimensionally poor. So let's see what these 10 indicators are. So when we are talking about health, we have nutrition and the child and adolescent mortality, which we have already talked about. Then when we are talking about education, year of schooling and school attendance. Okay, so that will be considered. Then when we are talking about standard of living dimensions, there are 6 indicators considering housing, household assets, type of cooking fuel, access to sanitation, drinking water and electricity. Okay, India has 2 more indicators, that is related to your maternal health and the bank accounts. Okay, and it is done by Niti Aayog. How MPI is calculated, as I told you, out of 10 indicators, if a person is not getting access to 3 or more indicators, he will be considered as multidimensionally poor. So that is about your multidimensional poverty index. Since we have this, when we are talking about your topics related to your GS1 and GS3 also, then you can directly say that there is a word specific mentioned in GS1, that is poverty. So that is why this multi-dimensional poverty index becomes really important for your exam. Okay, so for prelims as well as mains, this is important. Now we can move further to the article related to the piracy. Okay, hold on. So when we are talking about piracy, piracy can be an act of stealing from any vessel in the sea. Okay, that can be from petty theft to even hijacking a shipment. Okay, so that is related to piracy. When we are talking about piracy, what are the areas which are prone to piracy? You can say that areas of your Arabian Sea. When we are talking about Arabian, specifically you can say Gulf of Aden. Okay, we have this Somalia coast, so that is prone to piracy. And then when we are talking about other areas, that is Horn of Africa region. Okay, even western coast of Africa. Okay, and then one important choke point, that is your Malacca Strait. Malacca Strait is a geographical choke point, and since it is a geographical choke point, you can say there is congestion, and these pirates get an ample amount of time and opportunity to go inside this particular area and rob these shipments. Okay, so these are some areas which are important when we are talking about piracy. And Gulf of Aden has been in news because of the issues recently that was arose in the Gulf of Aden region, and India has provided timely response and rescued many lives from this particular area. Okay, so now let's see. Water of the coast of Africa, west coast of Africa, Gulf of Aden, Horn of Africa, Bangladesh, and then Strait of Malacca has seen piracy attacks. Okay, so when we are talking about why these areas are affected and not anyone else, okay, so when we are looking at these areas, there are problem of, you can say, first unemployment, and problem of poverty is there. Why these poverties or unemployment is there? Then there is an issue of misgovernance. Misgovernance because there is political instability. Now let's see how we can see that. When we are talking about poverty and unemployment, if there is a lack of governance, or if there is a political instability because of which there will be a lack of governance, and then it will result into your unemployment and poverty. That is one thing that is very clear and very obvious. Okay, when we are talking about why there is a political instability in the region, so when we are talking about the region of West African countries, you must have heard a name, that is Sahel region. So Sahel region has seen various extremist tendency, various you can say terrorist group or extremist groups are prevalent here, like IS, etc. So these groups are not keeping this area politically stable. Other than that, when we are talking about this Sahel region, that is geographically also it is extreme region, okay, because of which there are issues related to economy as well. And when we are talking about this region, you must have heard about the coup in Niger, Gabon. All these countries are you can say basically prone to various military coups, etc. Most of the countries have seen repeatedly military coups in this particular area, and because of which there is no political stability, and that led to misgovernance and then poverty and unemployment. Okay, so these people are basically kind of, you can say, desperate people which are not having any kind of resource of income, and that is why they turn to, you can say, piracy. So these are the main reason. Other than that, we will be looking at these reasons. So that is one thing, poorly policed areas. Okay, so other than that, when we are talking about this area, since there is the issue of patrolling, okay, these are international waters. So you must have heard this term that everyone's property is no one's responsibility. Okay, so international waters are basically everyone's property. Okay, and now they are no one's responsibility because the patrolling in these areas are very less, and because of which these pirates get the chance to go into go and do some piracy related activities. Okay, that is one thing. Other than that, when we are talking about these areas, there are some legal issues as well. Okay, if you go and, you can say, arrest some pirate over there, whose jurisdiction will be there? Okay, because we don't have a dedicated law which is dealing with piracy. Okay, so that is another issue. If, let's say, India is going there and arresting some people which are belonging to let's say some African country, okay, so now those government or their government might sue India in the international court. Okay, so that is some problems which are related to which are existing in this region, and that is why there are issues related to piracy. So here one thing is, these are poorly polished, or there is lack of you can say patrolling in this area. Okay, then shipping traffic, as I told you that these areas are having traffic congestion, or you can say there is a huge traffic going through this particular area. When we are talking about this current issue in the Red Sea, we have seen that nearly 10 to 15% of the traffic, or you can say trade with the Europe, is done through this particular area. Okay, so that is why they are having congestions. That is why that is another issue related to it. And then poor governance and turmoil in the land close to the areas. Okay, so these areas, or you can say the countries, coastal countries, are having issues related to their political stabilities, and ultimately that result into poor governance. Okay, other than that, when we are talking about these coastal areas or the coastal countries, they are very small countries. They do not have their own maritime power. Since they do not have their own maritime power, their maritime capacities are not up to mark to deal with the piracy related issues. Okay, so these are certain reasons which are basically discussed here. And then what constitutes the crime of piracy? As I told you, from a petty theft to hijacking that particular vessel is considered as piracy. You can say a range of crimes, from petty theft from the ship at the sea or anchorage to armed robbery or hijacking for ransom. Okay, all these things are considered to be piracy. Okay, now the thing is, how can the crime of piracy be tackled? Now when we are talking about piracy, as I told you, the issues are this: unemployment, poverty, misgovernance, and the political instability in that particular area. Other than that, when we are talking about security, we can go for the maritime security. We can go for some kind of coalition in that particular area, and joint patrolling etc. can be done. So that is one thing. Okay, but the thing is that patrolling should be done by the countries which are in the vicinity of the area, and no other power should be allowed in that area. That is, just to be cautious. Okay, that is one thing. Other than that, when we are talking about political stability, so all the coastal countries, all the countries which are cause of this piracy, those should have this political stability in those regions. Okay, so that is second thing which is to be taken care of. Okay, then when we are talking about Indian Navy, so we are, as I told you, we are first responder in the zone, and we have done various you can say rescue operations etc. We have this marine commandos, that is my Marcos. Okay, so these Marcos are also doing a good job in that particular region. We have recently seen that various Iranian flag shipment or Sri Lanka flag shipment has been saved from the piracy. Okay, so all these things. And when we are talking about India, India has started this anti-piracy exercises in that particular region from, you can say, 2008-9. Okay, so that is still continuing. Okay, so all these things are you can say measures which we can take to reduce the piracy in that particular region. Who are the pirates and what their modus operandi is? So how they operate, that is not important for you. These pirates are, as I told you, these are desperate people from lower strata which are not having employment. Okay, and what is modus operandi? So basically they have rackets. Their owners of these rackets are sitting back into the land, but the thing is they have these vessels inside the sea. Okay, and the pirates actually attack in a very small vessel. Okay, and these small vessels can go to their mother vessel for their, you can say, supplies etc. But when we are talking about these pirates, they are basically in the small vessel, so that they cannot be tracked until they are very close. Okay, so that is how they basically operate. Okay, how maritime forces responded, as I told you, when we are talking about India, we have Navy's presence over there. Recently we have deployed nearly 10 of our vessels in the Arabian Sea. Other than that, Operation Prosperity Guardian is there. When we are talking about US led coalition is there. Okay, other than that, countries are going individually also. Okay, so overall, ultimately the thing is, all these countries are having a, you can say, communication system. They talk with each other. Okay, so on that regard, even if they are going with the alliance or coalition, or otherwise also if they are going for the independent patrolling of this area, they are having this communication. Okay, we have this information center etc. All these things are in place. And when we are talking about these boats have a safe zone where you can go, and then you can send a distress signal from that safe zone. So when such distress signal is sent, these information centers actually spread the information to the nearby force which is present over there. They can go for the rescue operation. Okay, so you don't have to go into details of this. The thing is, these three paragraphs can be important for you. Okay, so that's all. Other than that, this I have discussed that some nations prefer to operate independently, some go for the US-led coordinated affair. There is necessary effective communication and the coordination among all the maritime forces. Communication with the merchant vessels are maintained. Okay, a ship with an armed helicopter. We are saying that if a ship is having an armed helicopter, so there are chances that that would be more safe. We have marine commandos, which we have already discussed. What happened after the pirates has been subdued? Once the pirates are subdued, or their attack is failed, or you can say that security forces has responded in the time. So what happened to those pirates? So most of the time what we do is we leave them. We actually take the fuel from them, take the arms and ammunition from them, and leave to the seas, and they find their way back to the shore. Okay, what we assume is that once we take the arms, once we take out their fuel, so the thing is, they would not come back for any kind of attack. But the thing is, ultimately they go to their mother vessel, then they get their supplies. Okay, why don't we arrest these pirates? As I told you, there are issues related to jurisdiction, there are complex legalities related to it, and we don't have any kind of complex law as of now, nationally as well as internationally. So that is why we don't go for the arrest of such people. Okay, so that is issue related to your piracy. Now we can move forward with the another article that is related to your financial institution likely to run corpus to find high-tech companies. Hold on. Okay, so in the budget, our finance minister has announced one fund, okay, or you can say a corpus nearly of rupees 1 lakh crore. Now this fund is announced for high tech companies, or you can say mostly for the innovation. Okay, so now why this fund is needed? So when we are talking about Indian companies in specific areas, there are various companies which are doing really good, but the thing is, because of the lack of want of funds, etc., they are not realizing their potential. For that, now government is saying that they will give them loan through some institutions, and now these companies should work on the high edge technologies so that India can get benefited, because we have a goal of being developed by 2047, and these high technologies can be very important for us. Okay, so now when we are talking about these companies, so these companies are, because when we are talking about R&D in technology, these are very costly in nature. So that is why government is saying that they will give loan through some institutions, and here they have said that nearly they will be asking National Bank for financing infrastructure and development, and then National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, that is NIIF, and Small Industry Development Bank of India, that is SIDBI. Okay, so these banks or these three institutions will be given a long term loan, or nearly 50 years, 50 years loan without interest, or you can say interest free loan will be given to these institutions for 50 years. What government used to do these things for the capital expenditure to the states. Okay, whenever they used to give any kind of money to the state, they used to say that we are giving you a loan of let's say 50 years, and you have to build capital infrastructure, or you have to go for a capital expenditure. Now we won't charge you any interest for that, but after 50 years you have to return the loan. Okay, so the same thing is government is doing, that they will be giving you a loan of 1 lakh crore to these three institutions, and ultimately these three institutions will be going forward with the loan to another institutions, which directly give loan to the companies. So basically what government is doing, that government is creating a fund which will give money to which will increase the supply of money in these three institutions. These three institutions in turn give money to other banking institutions, and then those will give it to companies, and now those companies can invest on the R&D related to technology. Okay, so that is how you can say that the government is trying to go for the R&D in the science and technology related areas. Okay, so here let's see, National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development and National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, NIIF, or Small Industry Development Bank of India, SIDBI, for operationalizing its budget announcement of rupees or you can say for extending rupees 1 lakh crore corpus for research and innovation in the sun-rising sector, or you can say those sectors which are rising in the recent time. Okay, now long term concessional credit of rupees 1 lakh crore staggered over multiple years for financing or refinancing private sector project to develop cutting edge innovation and technology. So ultimately they are saying that for technology they are giving this much amount of money. So why this is needed? As I told you, in a specific area there are specific companies which are good, they are globally competitive, yet we often ended up importing a lot of cutting edge technologies because we don't have our own domestic technologies. Okay, so now focus is to develop our own domestic technologies. The center is considered long duration loan of up to 50 years with zero interest to financing institutions, as it does for the capex for the state. The institution then in turn may consider providing credit at nil or concessional rate to another financing institution for refinancing or directly financing a commercial venture. Okay, so as we discussed all these things, the aim to provide an enabling ecosystem for ventures in cutting edge technologies, developing technologies to take off. It will provide cheap funding for innovation, private sector projects in certain sunrise sector where we have a lot of potential. We have discussed all these things in our discussions. Okay, now we can move forward with another article that is related to your ED probe. We will not go into details of it because we have talked about ED when we are talking about any money matter. When we are talking about Foreign Exchange Related Act or Foreign Exchange Management Act, we have FEMA, and then we have Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Okay, so whenever there is a question related to these two acts, ED will come into picture. Okay, so in this particular case, what happens is there is this Pandora Papers. Okay, so Pandora Papers refers to a trove of nearly 11.9 million secret documents from 14 offshore service providers that gave details of ownership of nearly 29,000 offshore entities used by super rich to manage their global money flow. So basically they are saying that to arrange their money flow, or you can say there are certain incidents of money laundering as well. Okay, so there are these 29,000 offshore entities which are used by Indian people, or you can say rich people, for laundering their money or for their money flow in the global market. Okay, so these papers has come out, and now ED is going for the probe of these papers. Okay, so recording of the statement of seizure of assets, summon to search of premises, getting details from income tax and RBI, the detection of money laundering violations. These are the key aspects. The enforcement directorate's ongoing action in the Pandora paper investigation that shows probes have been initiated for almost all Indian owners of the offshore firms named in 2021. So basically there are some firms which has been named in this particular document, and now ED is going for the probe of those firms, and while they will be probing, they will be going for the seizure of the assets. They can seize the assets and they can summon for the search of premises, getting details from the income tax and RBI, okay, and detection of the money laundering violations in that particular incidents. Okay, so that is about ED related issue. That is the issue per se, and what is the job of ED we have discussed in our previous sessions, so you can go and watch those sessions. Otherwise also you can go and refer your static notes. Okay, now moving further, now we have this one fact from this particular article, that is Uttarakhand is going for uniform civil code. Okay, they have produced a draft, and they have there are chances that that draft will be can be accepted in the near future. Okay, so Uttarakhand cabinet clears the final UCC draft. When we are talking about this draft, they have kept certain things out of the purview of this draft. Okay, here you can say that committee recommended exemption of the tribal communities from the purview of the proposed legislation. Priority, so here they have exempted tribal people. Why? Because tribal people have certain kind of culture, they have their own customs. Okay, and we have tried to protect those customs so that they can live their life. Okay, now the thing is, these tribal people are shy from the mainstream societies. They do not enter into mainstream societies, etc. So that is why we are trying to protect their interest over here. Okay, so that is why from this UCC we have exempted tribal people. That is one thing. Then second thing is, the proposed legislation prioritize women's equality, banning practices like polygamy, and arriving at a uniform marriage act, or you can say uniform marriage age across religions. Okay, so there are certain things which this particular act is doing. Other than that, they have made triple talaq, iddat, halala, these practices as you can say illegal in the eyes of law. Okay, or you can say these are now punishable offense. Okay, now once this bill is passed by the Uttarakhand assembly, that would be considered as the model act or model bill for the other states if they want to adopt it. Okay, so there are certain states like Gujarat and Assam, they are considering it. So once this bill is passed, they will refer this bill and they go for their own version of UCC. Okay, so that is about uniform civil code. So even in our constitution we have a mention of uniform civil code under DPSP. Now the question for you is that which article talks about uniform code? You have to reply in the comment box. Okay, so I'll be seeing the comments, so please you can reply in the comment box. Now moving further, international relations, as we are we have been well versed with the what is going on in the Israel related issues or Israel Hamas issues. We have discussed it various times. Now what happens is that Houthis warn of consequences after US strikes target across Yemen. So basically now US and UK has gone for striking, or you can say somehow missile attacks on territories across Yemen, and they are targeting these Houthis. Okay, so now the Houthis are saying that there can be a consequences. So these things has been going forward again. It's actually some kind of loop, you can say. People are actually US is attacking Syria, Syria is attacking someone else, and when we are talking about Israel, it is attacking on the let's say Lebanon, etc. Okay, so all these things are basically effect of Israel-Hamas war, which is spreading across the region. You don't have to know the specifics that who attacked whom, but the thing is you should remember that now what is the equation in the zone or in the area. Okay, so which countries are going for against which countries. When we are talking about Iran is basically you can say a rival to USA. Okay, in this region. Now Iran backed various you can say militant groups Okay, and these militant groups are attacking on the various sites. Or even when we are talking about Houthis in the Red Sea, they are also supported by Iran, and these Houthis are creating issues in the Red Sea across Yemen and nearby areas. Okay, so that is one thing. Now, United States and the Britain launched strike against 36 Houthi targets in Yemen, US operations against Iran-linked group. Okay, so now it has hit the missile system and launchers and the other capabilities of Houthis have used in the Red Sea attack. So basically, that is something which we have discussed all this while. And then Israel acknowledges the air strike in Syria, warns Hezbollah, and will attack if provoked. So now these group, that is Hezbollah, that is in the Lebanon, and Lebanon shares boundary with Israel, you know that. And now on the Lebanon border also there is a second front which is opening against Israel, and Israel is saying that if you provoked us, we can go for any kind of strike there as well. Okay, so that is another thing. Now moving further, there are international relations. When we are talking about the Maldives, so we have heard of this India Out campaign, etc., and we have talked it various times. So I will not go into details of it. But the thing is, there is one development which has happened. Is this Maldives has said India that they should remove their military personnel or the military presence from the Maldives. Okay. But the thing is, there are certain aviation infrastructure which is to be operated by Indian people over there, or the Indian military personnel which are deployed over there to operate this particular infrastructure. So what is to be done to that? Okay, so in the second high level meeting which has happened between Maldives and India, they have decided that these military personnel will be replaced with the civilian people, and these civilian people will be operating this you can say helipad, etc., or aviation infrastructure which is built by India in Maldives. Okay. So that is another development when we are talking about Maldives and India. Now those military personnel will be replaced with the civilian people. Okay, and other than that, there is this India Out campaign which we have already talked about. When President Moizu is going for the presidential campaigning, he has started this India Out campaign. Like they have said that India should not interfere in their domestic politics. All these military personnel which are deployed in India, they will be sent back to their country. All these were the you can say part of their manifesto when he was going for the presidential elections. Okay, and he has won. Now moving further, Tanzania as Surajkund Fair partners highlighted ties with the African Union. So now there was this Surajkund Fair which has happened in Faridabad, Haryana, that is related to art and architectures. Okay, and handicrafts related things when we are talking about this particular fair. So it was 37th edition of this particular fair. It has been happening for a while now, and Tanzania was a partner in that particular fair. Okay, so here you can say that President has expressed appreciation for cultural exchange between Tanzania and India. President said that Tanzania acts as the partner country for this year's fair cultural exchanges. Okay, so this year Tanzania was the partner, and when we are talking about the state partner, Gujarat was the state partners. Okay, they have also talked about northeastern handicrafts, etc., in this particular fair. Okay, so ultimately when we are talking about the role of Tanzania or the partnership, these are things related to your soft power, or you can say people to people connect. Okay, so that is why that becomes important. And now here President has emphasized on the you can say importance of African Union for India, because Tanzania is part of that. And when we are talking about this particular African Union, most of the countries of Africa are part of this union. Okay, so they have said that. So this is basically talking about the relations between India and these countries, or the eastern coast countries of Africa. Okay, so highlights the India's partnership with African Union. We have talked about it, and then Gujarat is the state partner this time. When we are talking about international partner, that is Tanzania. Okay, Northeastern Handicrafts and Handloom Development Corporation Limited is the cultural partner. Okay, so these things are not important. Only thing which is important for you is that Tanzania was the international partner, and now why Tanzania is important, because this is part of African Union, and you must have heard that in G20 African unions were added. Okay, so that is you can say that India and African Union is sharing very good ties right now. Okay, other than that, when we are talking about this Surajkund, it was constructed by Surajpal of the Tomar dynasty. So basically the name is clear. Surajpal has created this Surajkund, and it was shaped in a shaped like a rising sun and built in the Roman style. Okay, so this particular thing can be important from your art and architectural point of view. Other than that, this article does not have any more information, just that Tanzania was the international partner in the 37th Surajkund International Craft Fair in Faridabad. Okay, Now when we are talking about Tanzania, this is the location here you can see. Okay, so this is Tanzania on the eastern coast of Africa. Okay, and that is why it has the, you can say, neighborhood. We have India, and these are the nations of African Union. You can say that most of the nations are part of African Union. There are certain nations which are suspended, that is Mali and South Sudan. The thing is, this suspension of this particular membership is not, you can say, concrete. They happen on the daily basis, on the basis of events in the Africa. So you don't have to remember all these things, but the thing is, you have to remember that African Union has 55 members. Okay, these are mostly, all of them are African countries. Here you can say that its headquarters is in Addis Ababa, that is in Ethiopia, and EU is continental body consisting of 55 members states that make up the countries of African continent. It is officially launched in 2002, and earlier it was named as Organization of African Unity. It was established in 1963. Primary objective is to promote unity and cooperation and development among the African nation. Okay, so basically what they are trying to do is they are trying for the political stability. Hold on. They are trying for the political stability as well as the development in this particular region. Okay, so that is about African Union. Now another fact from the news was related to some projects which has been highlighted in this article in recently Prime Minister's visit to Assam. Here you can say that Kamakhya Temple Corridor. Okay, so this Kamakhya Temple Corridor will be built on the line of Kashi Vishwanath Temple Corridor. Okay, and he has said that since after this particular corridor, there was that inflow of tourists in that Varanasi or Kashi, and on the same lines we are going for the Kamakhya Temple Corridor so that tourism can be promoted in Assam as well. Okay, so that is one thing. Here Ma Kamakhya Divya Lok Pariyojana, that is the name behind it, Ma Kamakhya Divya Lok Pariyojana. Okay, now here important factor is that there is this Kamakhya temple in Assam. Okay, so that can be important, and from your art and architecture point of view as well, that has been mentioned in your NCERTs as well. Okay, in budget we have acknowledged the role of tourism sector. They have given a weightage to that, and when we are talking about this northeastern region of India, that becomes even more important because it has a huge potential when we are talking about even natural tourism, or when we are talking about you can ecosystem based tourism, etc., ecotourism you can say. So that is important. Okay, other than that, if we want to promote the culture, etc., so the temples of northeastern region can also be included in this tourism related activities. When we are talking about this policy, that is your look east policy, okay, and act east policies. These policies are no doubt international foreign policy related issues, but the thing is, in these policies also, northeastern region of India plays a very important role because that is the region which is connecting the Southeast Asia with the India. Okay, so that you can say that is the gateway to Southeastern Asia. Now moving further, next article is related to despite government assurances, Ladakh shuts over statehood demands. So Ladakh is right now a union territory and it is going for a demand related to proper statehood. Okay, so they have made some 4 demands that statehood for Ladakh safeguard under 6th schedule of the constitution. Okay, so 6th schedule is basically a schedule which provide, you can say, protection to interest of tribal peoples in right now 4 states, that is you can say Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. Okay, so there is a specific you can say protection which is given to the tribal communities of these particular regions. So that is why even Ladakh is asking for that particular protection. Okay, and creation of separate parliamentary constituencies for 2 parts of region, that is Ladakh and Kargil. Leh and Kargil. They are saying that there should be 2 separate parliamentary constituencies. So that is about this article. And now there is this article related to one particular thing, that is related Bharat rice. Okay, so you have to remember this term because now India is going for a brand India, as I told you, or brand Bharat. We have this Bharat urea, Bharat fertilizer, etc. So that is why now we have Bharat rice. In that, what they are doing is that to check the inflation in the prices of rice, they are going for retail you can say selling of Bharat Rice. Okay, to check the price rise, government allows retail rice sale at 29 rupees per kg from the next week. Okay, that can be sold through these three outlets, that is NAFED, NCCF and Kendriya Bhandar. Okay, so that is National Agriculture Corporation Marketing Federation of India, that is NAFED, then National Corporation Consumers Federation of India, that is NCCF, and then Kendriya Bhandar. These are three bodies which will be going for the sale, and in the coming time we will be seeing that that will be expanded to other institutions as well. Okay, now we can see this related to INS Sandhayak. Okay, so that has been commissioned. It was earlier also there was this INS Sandhayak, but it is a better version of it. It is the largest survey vessel ever built in India, and it was built fully in India, indigenous. It is indigenous in nature, and it was built by Garden Reach shipbuilders and engineers in Kolkata. Okay, it is the first in the series of 4 survey vessels, and when we are talking about Make in India, we are trying to promote defense-based technology also to produce in India. So that is one example here. It is reincarnation of the another ship by the same name. The previous warship also was also a survey vessel and was commissioned into the Indian Navy in 1981 and decommissioned in 2021. So we already had this INS Sandhayak, but now it has been commissioned with another avatar of it, or we can say there are certain changes in the features of that particular vessel, and they are improvised. Okay. Now moving further, that is your practice question. Which organization developed the multi-dimensional poverty index? Okay, so there are some options given: World Bank, United Nations Development Program, International Monetary Fund, and World Health Organizations. So out of which one is true, and you have to attempt this question and answer in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next session. Till then, have a good day. Thank you.